Managing contingent workers and temporary workers. Given the widespread use of the contingent and temporary workers, HR managers must understand how to use such employees most effectively. That is, I need to understand how to manage contingent and temporary workers. One key is careful planning, even though one of the presumed benefits of using contingent workers is flexibility. It is still important to integrate such workers in coordinate fashion. Rather than having to call in workers and with no prior notice, organizations try to bring in specified number of workers for well defined periods of time. The ability to do so comes from the careful planning. I beg your pardon, please. A second key is understanding contingent workers and acknowledging their advantages and disadvantages. That is, the organization must recognize what can and can't achieve from the use of contingent and temporary workers. Expecting too much from such workers, for example, is a mistake that management should avoid. The third key is that the managers must carefully assess the real cost of using contingent workers. We noted previously that many firms adopted this course of action to save labor cost. The organization should be able to document precisely its labor cost compared to that of the permanent staff and then make uh, the difference in writing. How does this cost compare with the amount spent on contingent workers? This difference, however, could be misleading. We also noted, for instance, that contingent workers might be less effective performers than those permanent members. The full time employees, in fact, do come along with great performances. Comparing employees for employees on direct cost basis, therefore, is not necessarily valid. Organization must learn to adjust the direct differences in labor cost to account for the differences in productivity and performance. Finally, managers must fully understand their own strategies and decide well in advance how they intend to manage temporary workers, specifically focusing how to integrate them into organization. On a very simplistic level, for example, an organization with a large contingent workforce must make some decisions about the treatment of contingent workers relative to the treatment of holiday party. Should they have the same access to such employees' benefits, counseling services, and childcare? There are no right or wrong answer to such a question. Managers must understand that they need to develop a strategy for integrating contingent workers according to some sound logic, then follow that strategy consistently over time. Dealing with the organized labor. A labor union is a group of individuals working together to achieve shared job related goals, such, such as higher pay, shorter working hours, more job security, greater benefits, or better working conditions. This is, in fact, the purpose of a labor union. Labor relations describe the process of dealing with the employees who are represented by a union. Labor unions grew in popularity in the United States in the 19th century and the early 20th century. The labor movement was born with the industrialization, with the Industrial Revolution, which also gave birth to a factory based production system that carried with it enormous economic benefits. Specialization and mass production allowed business to create ever greater quantities of goods at ever lower cost. There was a dark side to this era. Workers became more dependent on their factory jobs.